I'm blessed and free. Welcome back to another episode of DOC TV. So if you guys are tuning in for the first time on this channel, we like to talk about prison, crime, jail, and the corruption that goes on in all those. If you're new, man, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to turn your post notifications on all. So every time I drop an episode, you can hear it first. So today's guest, we reached out to each other on social media. I don't know a lot about his story. So that's why he's on the show. Tell his story, man. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people watching at home? What's your name and where you're from?
What's up, everybody? My name is Jeff. I'm in Maine right now. I've lived all over the country. My pops was in the Marine Corps for 25 years. So I've lived in 9 different states. I've done time in Massachusetts, I've done time in Florida, and I've done time in Maine. And in all 3 of those states, I've experienced, some of the hardships that everybody faces that's been locked up, man. So
yeah, man, I got a homeboy that actually is from Maine, and he just moved back down to Florida, man. Shout out to Andrew Duncanson if you're watching this, man. But all right, so how much time would you say total between Florida and Maine that you've done inside?
I've done 9 years, give or take a couple months, but yeah, I've done 9 years, and that's just, my adult life, So when I was younger, had done some group homes and foster homes and some juvie, and so it started when I was young.
So really, you were in foster care growing up as a kid?
Not totally. I lived with my parents. My mom and dad are separated. They separated when I was, like 1 or something. I was living with my dad. I would bounce back and forth. But my pops was in the Marines. He was, very easygoing. He was more of a friend than a father. Great man. But nonetheless, just his parenting style was just to let us just run wild. It was like 7, 8, 9 years old, watching rated R movies, staying out till midnight. So by the time he tried to reel us in, it was too late, and so we started to rebel, and that's when he like reached out to like DHS for help. He thought they would come in and help, but when they got introduced to things, they came in, assessed the situation, and said these kids got to go. And once I got pulled over in that direction, that's when I started to experience things that beforehand I had never seen and witnessed. Drugs. I was living in a foster home in Brockton, Massachusetts, and my homeboy's mom was like smoking crack out of a nip bottle. I didn't really know what she was doing. I just knew that it was something that I could just sense and tell, like, this shit is like, some like negative kind of evil, like, nasty shit. I started smoking bud, skipping school, and from there, like gone to like some psychiatric hospitals and shit, so they can make some assessments on behavioral or psychological issues, and from there getting fed medication, and always having to do these bullshit tests and have everybody, judging my life and telling me what I should do and shouldn't do, and the shit just got me so confused, bro. I just started to just rebel and be defiant, and from there, that's when like the law got brought in, and when I was finally like in a like a lockdown facility, I was still the same way. I was full of rage, man. I fucking hated these people. They were interrupting my life. I didn't, my father, didn't beat me, didn't molest me. Like, he was in the Marine Corps for 25 years, bro. Like he held things down, but he, only could do the best that he could. But once they pulled me out of that and told me, basically, your father is unfit. Them making that judgment of my father, who obviously I loved to no end. Immediately just, made me kind of hate these people. And it just grew from there, because I would, I'd be at these group homes, and, where everything my behavior and how I acted would determine how much time I got to go home or how many supervised visits I got to have. And so I learned to like play this game and manipulate. And, that just furthered like my criminal thinking and whatnot. But
Yeah. So when was it in
ahead.
your life that you caught your first charge where you were facing prison? Like what age and how did all that go down?
I was 27 at that point. I'd had bumps with the law, but no prison time, nothing like that. So I broke my back in 2010 and was prescribed oxys. And other than what they gave me initially at the hospital, I didn't really have insurance, so they gave me this small little like script to take home. Had always had some involvement with drugs. You know what I mean? I'd never been hooked like heroin and opiates had hooked me, but I'd always smoked weed. I'd always eaten e-pills and dabbled in things. So I had kind of like a built-in kind of tendency to like overindulge, but the pain was real in my back. And more than the physical pain, I was 27. I skateboard, I play ball, like I do all these activities, and once I got that injury, like I couldn't do these things anymore. I had to move down to my mom's. I had to let my job go. Like I was living in a basement. I couldn't like just pick up a sack of potatoes or a 12-pack of soda or go hit the basketball court. Like I couldn't do those things, and that started to like weigh on me mentally as well. And I'm pretty spiritual, so it just like it put this block in between me and like my connection to like my higher power. And so like I just started to like spiral downward, and just go heavier and heavier and deeper into the drugs, started getting them off the street, and after about like a year and a half of that, man, I was down in Massachusetts. My uncle was living down there. I was stealing from like locker rooms, YMCA's. I was stealing from cars, a lot of thefts and burglaries. I ended up getting jammed up for that same thing when I came back to Maine. I kind of like fueled my addiction by car shopping. I go out late at night and I'd pop handles, and you left your wallet, you left your watch, you left your iPod. You know what I mean? That was my means to like stay up on my dependency. And so at some point I got caught up for like 7 or 8 of those. You know what I mean? And because I had a history of like petty thefts in my history, this state, and I don't know about elsewhere, but there's a statute that if you got 3 or more thefts in a 10-year period, they get bumped up to felonies, Class C felonies, 3rd degree in some other places, but they carry 5 years apiece. And I had 7, and when I went to court, I got all these charges. I got the DA was like, he's on the mass most wanted list, and it was just for like going in a 7-Eleven and stealing like a soda or something, but they don't differentiate on that website. You could be there for mass murder, or you could be there for stealing a soda pop.
Yeah, I talk about
they just vilified me in the court.
Yeah, I talk about that on my channel, man. Like, you were robbing cars, you were stealing shit out of cars, but when you look at how the state, Maine or Florida charges you with a crime, like you're saying, like it's all the same name, but it's different type of shit that gets you to that name. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy how the laws are set up that, when somebody either looks you up or you're in court facing time and they look at one charge, and then the next thing you know, they're putting you in a group with other people that did something totally different than what you did. They make it sound so serious when it's really not. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Like prior to that, you know what I mean? Like I think at some point I like got caught trying to like steal some speakers out of a car from like some like abandoned parking lot. Like I didn't break in the car. Like there was nobody in the car. It wasn't anything serious. I was just a kid, bro. You know what I mean? It had some nice speakers. My homie had a Saab. I was like, yo, let's get those speakers. We'll have a nice system when we ride around and chill. So it wasn't any like crazy, like malicious intent. I wasn't, doing anything that serious other than just being like a kid.
Yeah. How much time did you end up getting for all the auto burglaries?
It was a 4-year sentence. I got 2 years suspended, 2 years probation, 2 years hanging. So when I went upstate, I had two years to do. You know, when I was in there, and I had never been through this, my public defender, you know, I asked him like, yo, what kind of time am I looking at? You know, he's like, yeah, 9 months, you know, maybe. And then they
Yeah,
come back
right.
to 4 years. I was crippled, bro. That shit. I was in tears. I was in tears, man. That's 4 years of my life gone. It's a year later, and there was nothing I could do at that point except accept it, you know.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I've been to prison in Florida. For the people watching at home that, you know, only know about Florida prisons, what did you go through when you entered into the Maine prisons? Like how is it set up in there? Did you have any, you know, issues with gangs? Are white boys bumping? Because in Florida, you know, white boys, a lot of them aren't, so they get put down on. Is that stuff go on in Maine?
Well, not so much because there's not really a huge, you know, gang population. You know, like I said to you when we were speaking before, you know, I just did 20 months in the Department of Corrections in Florida. I was in Hamilton, CI. You know, I went through Miami reception. You know, down there I've seen some wicked things. You know what I mean? There's a lot of gang activity. Like you said, white boys are bumping. One of the most violent acts probably the most violent act I've ever seen was by some unforgiving cats that had, you know, 6 cigarettes stolen from his bunk while he was out, you know, doing his little houseman duties. And you know, it's nothing like that up here. The system in terms of like safety and violence is real minimal. But you know, they got like 2 prisons up here. They got one for people that are like 5 years and under, and then they got another one for cats who got like 5 years up to life. And
Okay.
so, you know, in the Maine State Prison, which is like the prison for, you know, a larger level of offender, you know, there's some violence. You know, you hear about, you know, people getting stabbed up, people getting, you know, hit over the head with locks and whatnot. But there isn't, you know, a bunch of gangs. There's not a lot of gang activity in the state, in the street or in prison. And so, you know, there was never really any pressure from that. But, you know, of course, you got little cliques of kids who had done time, you know, put down on kids, and, you know, they fresh to the system. They don't know, you know, left from right. You know, they get a big bag of commissary, you know, every week, and you know, they're scared. You know, they don't know what to do. They just want to fit in and get through their time. So, you know, I've seen a little bit of that up here, and mainly the fights are just one-on-one. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a fair shot. Y'all go in the room, squabble, do your thing, and that's it. Down in Florida now, I was actually in an altercation over something stupid, but you know, me and this kid started, you know, yapping at each other. You know, he jumped off his bunk. He's like, "What you want to do?" So went into the bathroom, and you know, I ended up hitting him with a nice shot. And I was going in, and I was gonna, you know, I was gonna hit him a couple more times. But all of a sudden, I got whopped in the back of my head by his homeboy who was sitting there watching. I didn't even know he'd follow us to the bathroom. But down there, they don't really fight fair. You know what I mean? If I beat you up in the Florida system, you're finna to come back and catch me with a lock inside your commissary bag, because you ain't finna to have nobody show you up like that. You know, and I've seen that on multiple occasions, bro. Shit is nasty.
Yeah. So, I mean, would you then obviously you would say that Florida is way more violent than what you experienced in Maine, right?
1,000%, bro. Nothing even close.
So when you went into Florida, man, like how did you do your time there? Were you a neutron? Did you click up with people? Like how did you do your time when you came down to Florida?
I was neutral. Really, I was rocking with God at that point. You know what I mean? I was deep in my Bible. I was leading like, you know, prayer call, and I was really trying to like pull cats in a different direction and get them to seek like a better way. You know, that was my 4th state bid. So I've done 3 state bids in this state, Maine, and I've done 1 in Florida. And at that point, I was like 32, 33. And so I'd been through the system, and I'd seen, you know, how it chews people up, and just, you know, it basically relegates people to a life of crime or prison, or all that kind of, bullshit. And there's a lot of people with a lot of talent in there. You know what I mean? A lot of people with a lot of potential. And it's so hard to overcome all the fucking obstacles that the system puts in your way. And so I try to elevate people, you know what I mean? Instead of staying stuck in that cycle, like I want y'all to get out and stay out, and I want us to be able to, basically look back at the system and say, fuck you, I made it. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of, where I was at. I wasn't even I wasn't getting high. I put all that shit down, and I was steady in the word, bro. I was kicking it with the Hebrew Israelites, chopping it up, having good conversations. There wasn't anybody I wasn't cool with. They respected that I was true to that shit. And so at times I'd be like a mediator for things. I'd step in, and because they knew I was neutral and that I was genuine in what I was doing, they respected how I operated. And so I had respect from the whites, I had respect from the blacks, I had respect from the Chicos. I lived good in that environment.
When you were in there, that bid in Florida where you said you were, had your head in the Bible and shit, was that the first time that you really said, like, I'm done with this shit, like I'm going to turn to God and try to get help that way? Or is that something you did like each time you went to prison?
I guess I'll explain it like this. So growing up, I always felt like some calling from something. I didn't know what it was, but when I was younger, I'd gone to church, so I dabbled in that. But I was too caught up in like the street to like fully invest myself in that. So when I finally touched down in the system down there, and had time to reflect and clean the drugs out of my system and look at my life and been like, yo, I'm back here again, like a fourth bid, like what the fuck is going on? I was hurting, bro. Like I needed something, like, you know what I mean? I pushed my family away. I didn't know nobody in Florida. There wasn't one time I got a visitor pick up that blue phone while I did a bid. I used some little cell phones and whatnot, but I just pushed everybody out of my life. I was alone, and I was wondering, like, is this going to be my life forever? Am I never going to be able to overcome this? And the only like solace and comfort I could get was from God, because I felt like he had called me to something, and I was just like squandering my opportunity. And so I was just like begging, like I was trying to show him, like, yo, please, I'm searching so hard, like give me something, you know what I mean? And that was like what sustained me. And that's really like where my relationship with him like solidified, to the point where like that's my homeboy, you know what I mean? Like I'm not really like a Bible thumper. I dabble in all kinds of different religions, and my philosophy incorporates a bit of each, but I don't go to church. I listen to some Christian music, some Christian rap, but it's not the only thing I listen to or focus on. But it was just the thing that I needed at that point in my life, and really like he rescued me, because like I said before, I was going to say, well, when I first went to prison, I was caught up in being cool. I was caught up in moving the drugs, or having to connect, or playing big poker games and spending money, or running down on somebody if they did some dumb shit, like. And I was kind of like celebrated for that. It was kind of like I was in with all the cool cats, man. I was part of that, and I relished in it. But I just didn't have any like solid principles. Which in Florida, bro, if you don't know how to do time, bro, you're finna to like have some real
I already
trouble.
know.
So there's cats down there smoking Tucci, and fronting a little sack off somebody, and then that money that you promised, homeboy, doesn't arrive, bro, you're getting slumped, bro. Like and that would have been me, bro, because I was such a junkie that I would have promised you, like, I'm gonna have the money, when I knew inside that I didn't. And that would have just led to real trouble, because I'd seen it on multiple occasions down there, and I'm looking at this shit unfolding, and I'm like, yo, that could so easily be me. And so I really lucked out that by the time I touched down in that system, like I'd done 7 years. And so I really know how to, do time and mind my business and keep things quiet. And they respect that down there. Like, it's really prison down there. It's really prison. It's not really prison up here, There's a code, but down in Florida, like, that shit is really real, man.
Yeah. And it's what you were saying, man, about the religion and God. When I was in the streets, bro, and I was hustling and getting arrested and doing all that crazy shit, I thought I was God, man. Like, I never prayed. I never did any of that shit. But what's funny is when I was in the streets and I got arrested and then I started looking at some time, the first person I turned to was God. You've been in that cell before, like, when you're saying, like, bro, please get me a bond. God, please get me out of here. Like, you know what I mean? It's just crazy that, your mindset can change so quick. And, some people, that never happens. But for the majority, that's usually what happens when they get arrested. They turn to God then. And that's exactly what happened with me. I mean, I wasn't like, rocking it out in prison. I've always believed in God, but, I did some bullshit in prison too. But props to you, man. I mean, I've only been twice. You've been 4 times. So you got to probably experience shit a lot more than me with going back and getting out. So I feel like that's probably what made you turn to that on your 4th bid. Is like you said, man, you're just tired of living that life. You want some peace. So when you were in Florida, is that the last time you were in prison?
Last time I was in prison. It wasn't last time I was locked up. So I'd gotten out of Florida prison. I'd come back home to Maine, and I put together like a solid year of just good living, man. Like, I had a dope ass job. I had a car again. I was active in my daughter's life. I was going to little concerts and festivals. Like, my life was good. And I ended up doing some side work. Had a piano dropped on my shin and split me down to the bone. And there was like some side job that I was doing because my boss for the company I was working for took his girl down to like Jersey to see a concert. And I was, I was hungry for money, so I looked on Craigslist, found this little moving gig. And jumped on that for a day. Ended up having that piano dropped on my leg. We were down in Massachusetts. That injury happened, and when I left the hospital, they didn't give me nothing. You know what I mean? I didn't have any. And my leg was throbbing, dog. Like, I'm a pretty tough individual, but that shit had me like I couldn't focus on anything else. And then it dawned on me. I'm like, oh shit, I got this little thing that I found earlier. So I went into the bathroom and sniffed it. And as soon as I put that in my system, I'm an addict, bro. As soon as that shit touches my system, I'm gone.